Hey folks, and welcome to the Daily Ratings Podcast. It's a show where each week we're going to sit down with Vincent Daly to get his thoughts on the latest movies he's been watching, both older films and new releases. And don't worry, there's no spoilers. Vince will give a brief review of the movie, share some thoughts, and of course, then rate the film. The daily ratings are always fair, honest, and most importantly, they're consistent. On today's show, Vince will be rating and reviewing. We have Captain America from 1979, directed by Rod Holcomb. We then have Captain America 2, Death Too Soon, from 1979, directed by Ivan Nagy. We then have Paddington and Paddington 2, directed by Paul King. And finally, now in theaters, newly released, we have Paddington in Peru, directed by Dougal Wilson. And finally, Captain America, Brave New World. So it's a big episode here, folks, this week. Let's get into it and hear what Mr. Vincent Daly's got to say about it. Stay tuned and enjoy the show. Mr. Vincent Daly, how we doing over there?
Thomas, how's it going?
It's going okay. On my end of the table, you gave yourself homework.
Just unnecessary amount of work this week.
Our past weeks were like 3 movies, 6 movies.
Yeah. Well, I can safely say I have no idea what I was thinking when it came to the double dose Captain America. If anything, it was a nice 3 and 3.
CBS, the year 1979. One of these films came out in January, and then the other one came out in November. And they're proper.
Both did very poorly.
They're proper movies, though.
Yeah.
One's over an hour and a half, and the other one's like 88 minutes, just below hour and a half.
Right.
So it's a thing that happened.
I liked it in the terms of, like, I don't know, doing research into this. This is clearly like out of like everyone's wheelhouse when it comes to, Marvel on the big screen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. They were something else, and I have a little bit of an intro written for them, and then 2 quickie reviews because they are realistically very, very bad.
I think, we don't want to be glazed over here listening to these guys.
Yeah.
And these were DVDs you had to watch, right?
Yes. Donated by Matt D.
Fantastic. True producer.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll see if we thank him in the end for these.
But of course, Captain America: Brave New World. Everyone and their mother has an opinion on it.
It's true. Absolutely true.
Really has. You could tell there was kind of a feverish punching bag needed by the industry. If you're either talking about award season news or you needed something popcorn, and Brave New World is definitely that popcorn.
It got us at. We're still in February though, and we got a great box office.
Yeah, really.
Well, for February, I mean,
sure.
A Marvel film, I guess not, but like it's the box office is juiced up a little bit compared to especially last year where it was. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's like it brought us at a thumpy and we got some films coming up finally.
Absolutely.
But
I'm actually curious. How did Paddington in Peru do?
Not great.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
You think just the kid money would drive that?
So you're already not listening to the new show on Tuesday mornings, huh?
already out of the loop.
I think it made like 13 million. Not great, but I think that might have some legs. Just like Mufasa, the Lion King, still has legs. It's number 6 still of the weekend.
Oh, really?
Well, the Chinese movie came in and knocked it down.
Interesting.
That thing, that is now the highest grossing animated film of all time.
No way.
So it's made something. So before it was Inside Out 2, which just came out last year.
Really?
And that made 1.71 billion.
Yep.
And Niza 2, the Chinese animated film, I think has surpassed that. I think it's at 1.72, 1.73.
Damn.
And like 1.69 of that is just Chinese box office.
Wow.
So it's the best film in a single market of all time.
Interesting.
So the old record was The Force Awakens that made a little less than $1 billion in the States. And then in China, this movie is like, people are seeing it 6-7 times.
Wow.
It's holding so strong, and it's not doing that great in other markets. It came out in the States, it came out in Europe, some European countries and stuff, but So they think it's gonna end up probably around $2.3 billion.
Wow.
So it's already the 8th best film of all time. It'll probably crop into like 5th best.
Interesting.
Fourth,
this is like
fourth best of all
I
time.
shouldn't say like this is like RRR because it's honestly past RRR.
Past. Well, yes and no.
But a cultural bridge.
See, RRR had more staying power across the world. This is just doing that good in China. A film has never, ever done anywhere close to this good in China.
Unreal. Animated, no
And it was only open for like 22 days. It hasn't been like a full month there.
Wow.
So,
unreal.
I mean, just as Pixar, step up your game.
I guess so.
I don't need to see the Chinese taking those rankings from us.
Listen, I will say I'm definitely curious. I don't think I'm going to cover it like while in theaters, but when it comes to streaming, I'll get around to that.
I mean, what you know what I mean? We have so many lists that you got to get to already.
We don't need.
Listen, I don't need to hold the torch.
Called again?
I will not be holding the torch for Inside Out 2 ever. But it might not be. To me, it means nothing. But it's an American nothing to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to pry that away from my cold, dead hands before I want to give the reins away.
Well, I guess we'll see if it's actually number one.
Knees Out 2. That was, by the way,
Knees Out 2.
When we were in Paddington, that was what was making all the noise next to us. I was thinking, why couldn't they juice our speakers up? It was ridiculous.
Yeah. These kids, they probably want to be in Knees Out 2.
I have a lot of notes on the sound of Paddington, by the way.
Okay.
More so than the movies themselves.
Very interesting.
It played a part.
Yeah, I will certainly try to keep things condensed with as much as possible.
So let's. Any more opening notes? Or?
No, we can get into it. It's
Yeah.
gonna be a long episode.
Okay,
so.
all right. 1979, Finn. The wonderful CBS created 2 films in 1 year for us.
Yep.
Captain America and Captain America 2: Death Too Soon.
What an ass name! Like what a really terrible name.
There's not a lot the same. So even the directors are different. The first one was Rod Holcomb. The second one was Ivan Nagy.
Okay.
They did keep the same Captain America,
Yes.
which is an actor named Red Brown.
Yeah.
Is playing Steve. What's his name? Johnson.
Steve
what's his name?
Johnson.
And what is his name? What's Captain America's name?
Steve. It's not Steve Johnson. Why am
You
I
laugh
trying-
at me. You don't laugh at me.
No, I guess I am.
No, it's Steve Rogers.
Steve Rogers. Thank you,
Mr.
Thank
Rogers.
you.
That's right. Other than that, there's not a lot of like writers aren't the same. Even actors, secondary actors. It's just
Interesting.
like very much 2 separate movies, but they did keep the same guy. 1979, Captain America and Captain America 2: Death Too Soon. You stitch these together how you want, and tell us how they were.
Absolutely. Well, this is now the second submission from Matt D. The first being the wonderfully hammy Batman from 1966. I've enjoyed watching these unconventional superhero flicks when the mainline superhero movie has been coming out, because it just kind of fascinates me what they get right and what they get like horribly wrong.
Yeah.
Like I said in the weeks leading up to this, or just the last week, I was kind of hoping for So Bad It's Good with this as well, but I feel like the more I kind of cover these, not even diamonds in the rough, just coal in the rough. There's something there of just like, I'm so fascinated of just like how wrong they get things. It's really ridiculous. Today we are covering 2 of them, Captain America and Captain America 2: Death Too Soon. Both coming out in 1979, and strictly a lesson in the later half of that curiosity today. Let's do a quick crash course on the Cap for everything pre-MCU. Like many comic book heroes, Captain America gets a 15-part serial in the 1940s. From what I understand, really not something worth checking out. He doesn't even have a shield. They just gave him a gun.
Really?
Yeah, it's odd.
And serials are these things where they were like 5-minute, 10-minute short films.
Bingo.
That they play in front of full-length movies.
Yes,
at the theaters.
yes.
Yeah.
Usually in the huge gaps of time. I mean, theaters worked very differently back then in that you just kind of walked in when you wanted to and caught what you can. So in
That's true?
between...
Wait. Is that true?
Yeah,
I thought you would buy a ticket specifically to see something still.
Yeah, you absolutely. There would be like start times and whatnot, but the culture of going to the theater was
okay.
much more kind of passive. I got to kill some time. Let's go in.
Scorsese used to say that the thing that they used to do when they were younger is go into films at their intermission, and you see the last half, and then you stick around, and then you see the first half.
Interesting.
Didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, that doesn't make
sense. That's what he did with with not Stagecoach. That's what he did.
The Searchers.
With the Searchers. Weird.
Maybe that's
Weird
why
practice.
he likes it. Maybe that's why I don't. The next wave of Marvel content to leave off the page comes in a handful of these TV projects made in partnership with CBS towards the late 70s. I would say the most famous of these is, without a doubt, the Lou Ferrigno Hulk show, spanning from 1977 to 1982. But in this time, we get a lot of live-action shows. A Spider-Man show, a Doctor Strange TV movie. I'm probably the most curious about that. Like, what the hell?
What are the effects on that?
Exactly. Like, it's probably really bad.
Wow.
And finally, these two Captain America
Wonder
TV
Woman 2
movies.
show.
Oh, really?
Oh,
I don't
whoa.
know if that was in the CBS. And
Oh,
that's-
you're speaking strictly with the CBS license.
Yep,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, and that's DC, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I should shut up for the majority of these reviews here.
It's cool. Listen,
Let me know when Paddington's
you
in
did
town.
the Marvel
Let me know when
catch-up.
Paddington is in town.
CBS fully intended to continue these projects as a TV show, with the first feeling like a pilot episode and the second just kind of being another episode, but reduced the idea because of poor ratings. I mean, really no wonder. Yeah. We're on the same page there. Lastly, there was one more direct-to-video movie made in 1990 by the notable B-movie studio Cannon. We have not touched anything from Cannon, but that is its own kind of corner of the web for how so bad it's good those movies are. Once again, simply called Captain America. It looks to be kind of the most normal setup of them adapting Captain America with super soldier serums and Red Skull Nazis, only to reveal the real villain is its own reviews sitting at an abysmal single digits across the board. I mean, this movie is really, really badly reviewed. For now, though, it is the CBS Cap doubleheader. A quickie review for both because they're both TV movies and they're both really, really bad. We'll start off with Captain America, 1979. You know, for some reason, Cap is introduced as like a van life chill dude in California.
Really?
He's comfortable with being called Steve-O.
Oh, no.
I guess his dad was Captain America in the 40s, but died off screen, and this is the pilot episode. I mean, like, if there was a time to show, like, him inheriting the throne of Captain America or the mantle, you know, you think you put it in the pilot episode. Some group wants him dead before he even has powers, and that causes Steve to take up the super serum to get the powers, and once again, taking up his father's mantle. Turns out the evil bad guy has been after some information to make a neutron bomb, and the great news is that the U.S. has a new Captain America to save the day. This is a really confusing... this is like... I had to do a lot of research into what were the Captain America stories in the 70s. And
What are they pulling from?
exactly.
Because this doesn't make any sense just to watch it.
Right. It's just like, it's so not. Like, it's so ridiculous. You know, the amount that this deviates from comic book accuracy is both ridiculous and unnecessary. I'm not saying that Captain America comics in the 70s were good. Stan Lee, I think by the mid-70s, kind of gave up on Captain America.
Yeah, it's mostly two other guys that write Captain America.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was something about, you know, kind of the late 60s counterculturalism. Captain America just wasn't really marketable. So
That's why they made him into a hippie.
yes.
In a van off the coast of California.
That has to be it. That has to be it. He's like a Southern California bro in this, and it's just like, no.
Little
this
SoCal,
is
little SoCal
terrible.
surfer.
Yeah, this is terrible.
Yeah, Jack Kirby and Joe Simmons.
Yes,
Or Joe
yes.
Simon they were really the ones who created Cap.
Yeah. This movie is obsessed with motorcycles and vehicle combat for some reason. I mean, I kid you not, Tom. The amount of vehicle scenes in this, it's closer to a Fast and Furious movie than it is a Captain America movie.
Kind of impressive.
I was really gripping with it. Like, CBS just threw them a helicopter for the production of the show, and they say, you know, go crazy, guys. You know, do
Listen,
whatever you want.
Watch some Taylor Sheridan shows. They're still doing that.
They're still just throwing
They're like, give the
helicopters.
boys some helicopters.
I mean, the one thing I will admit I do kind of like from both of these movies is that Cap gets this, like, jet bike that's kind of pretty cool, I guess, but it's just like, the jet bike is the primary tool of his superpowers. It's not even super strength. It's not even the shield. It's ridiculous.
They have a hang glider in this one?
No, that's the second one.
Okay, gotcha.
And it comes out from the from the bike. I'm really not sure why Steve Rogers has this kind of like stoner easy rider attitude. Maybe that ties into the motorcycle stuff. It really is like they wanted a Cap for a new generation, but it's a struggle the comic has as well, and totally falls flat. It's ridiculous. Red Brown's acting could only be described as the acting coach for Mark Wahlberg, and at times is just way too inappropriately chill. Like at all times, he is never above like a room temperature simmer. He needs to really like just turn it on. This is just awful, though. It's boring. It's a complete stab in the dark at adapting the comic, and just very much a TV movie from the late 70s. The music was just horrendous. There's a constant disco beat that is strung through it, just like boo, boo. It's just like vices in the track. I'll say the first demonstration of the shield throw will have you dozing off before it lands. And honestly, under any circumstances, it's a no-go. No spig on this one. We're going to give Captain America 1979 an 11.
I love these low scores. 11%. Fantastic. Fantastic.
I knew you had some skin in the game on this.
Love it. Where do we go? Death Too Soon. Captain America, Roman numeral 2. What do we got?
Well, for the sequel, we are immediately in a better spot because it's at least kind of a functional superhero movie. This boils down to two reasons: just crime fighting and a bad guy played by Christopher Lee. Really just like all you need.
It's something.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Something. Yep.
It's something. It's also a bit more comfortable in its kind of episode of the week storytelling, which I just think worked so much better than whatever we got with the first, being like this mixed origin story for Cap and just being confusing, honestly. Truthfully, it's more of the same, though. This is not that much better that it's climbing out of a bad score. It just happens to be a better episode of what would have been the TV show eventually. Steve Rogers is fully settled in his role working for the government. This time he has to bust some like drug shipments to get a lead on a menacing villain named Miguel. Miguel is who Christopher Lee plays, planning to, in very comic book villain way, release a rapid aging poison on the unsuspecting masses unless he's paid a ransom of $1 billion. So really classic stuff. You might think this is a pretty high stakes plot, kind of a race against the clock. Like, wow, yeah, he's got this agent, $1 billion. I mean, in 1979, what would that even equate to? Steve-O does something else with the runtime of the film. He kind of really goes ground up on infiltrating a small town that is on the outskirts of the plant that they're making the gas poison, and
goes to the source. He's just going to the source.
He's just kind of getting to know the normal people. Is painting around town. He's painting people's cats. It just has nothing to do with anything, and that's where this is like still a wet fart of a movie. Like this is like nothing. It might sound like a compliment, or I should say, it might not sound like a compliment. But I did think that this was at least functional. We do get some corny fights, but they're at least making kind of an attempt to show off Cap's powers. They give a lot of like cheesy sound effects, a la kind of $6 Million Man, like wah, 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 when he jumps or he pulls something back with super strength, and it's like very almost slapstick, really. Surprisingly, this doesn't cut back on the vehicle combat though, which feels out of left field, but it's just less boring than 90% of the other scenes, which is a win. I think the TV movie script of this really just, it feels like so much of what the late 70s was grounded in and effective at, and just kind of creating not a monster of a week, but a new weekly show. Honestly, don't have that much experience with 70s television. There's something there. It feels like it's in a rhythm, at least. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. It does, however, have all the major flaws of the first, because they are the same production for what's intended to be the same show. It really is just boring at times for no reason. The music is just genuinely awful. This disco beats, Tom. It's so ridiculous. Like, why did they think Captain America needed disco behind him? It's just like,
It was the time. It was late 70s.
yeah, right.
It's what you did.
It's what you did. You got to capture youth somehow. But above everything, it's yet again another confounding attempt at making Captain America nothing like the source material. We're going to go ahead and give Captain America 2 Death Too Soon a 24.
Okay, 24, big step up.
I would
big
say
step up.
the grand question here is if it's big.
Yeah,
and I think,
so bad it's good.
I think this second one might be.
No, if it doesn't shout to you, it doesn't. It's not it.
It
yeah.
really doesn't.
So bad it's good has to scream to you.
Right.
Makes you laugh. Be like, I have to tell somebody to watch this right now.
Right, and this is not that.
No, it's not that.
Yeah, yeah. But there is one scene with Christopher Lee with an assault rifle in what looks like anyone's park next to their house. like they just didn't have a spot to film this. That would be my only case for it being Spig. But no, you're so right. It has to jump out to you.
Yeah, it's got to.
I want to rave about it.
It has to tell you it's so bad it's good.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you're
absolutely.
looking for it in this. That's no good.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the Captain America CBS doubleheader. Definitely, to no one's surprise, it's a stay away and a don't watch. But yeah, I just want to thank MacD again for sending that out, folks. If you have any rare gems that you're looking to kind of spread the awareness of, we're happy to hear any kind of submissions you want to give. No guarantee I can get to it. I actually don't know when Matt D gave me these. They were sitting on my shelf for a minute.
Well, it's helpful that he gave the hard copies, and that's a better way to get things watched.
Yeah.
Other than that, you'll have to produce. You have to become a director.
Right.
You have to become a director.
There's no guarantee. With that said, we can go on to
can go to London.
Yeah, we can go to London.
Okay, so good. We could put a close on that in 1979. Yeah, and it's not that long ago. You would maybe hope that it was a little bit better than that. But
It was so bad.
I don't know.
Again, what I remember from these films most vividly is just like how boring the first demonstration of the shield throw is. I mean, you really think like the shield throw, like that's
I think
that's
I saw
like a
it.
batarang.
Does he use it as a boomerang? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
There's one where he uses that boomerang. It's just bad. It's terrible.
It's like the hang time in air is like a minute solid. Like I'm dozing off before he catches this.
Okay, let's take a big leap forward. We're jumping to 2014 to hang out with our little buddy, our little bear. I don't know if we need to do anything before. I mean, like Paddington is a very British property.
Yeah.
Like us as kids didn't grow up with Paddington Bear.
That's my first note.
As far as toys, we didn't grow up. It started as a comic, is that right? Or a short story or something like that?
No, I think it's just a collection of stories. And he's
Okay.
just been making them. Michael Bond, I want to say, is
Yeah,
the original
yeah.
author. He's just been making them since the 50s. So
Let's start out with this.
you were
Yeah,
campaigning.
I was campaigning for this for about the past 9 months. And the reason being is I knew that the first one did really well. And then when the second one came out, it was getting 100s across the board. It was
Yes.
getting everyone was
It was
giving
almost a meme
Or
to
they
it.
gave it high 90s, great Metacritic score and everything like that. And I was just said there's got to be something here. There has to be something. And I never watched them. And they were doing the movie podcast. We didn't even touch them.
Yeah.
So when I found out there was a third one coming, it's like, wow, these both are rated super high. What are we missing? Maybe we get excited. Maybe it's something to get excited about. That's why we covered them, and that's why I felt the obligation to watch these along with you.
yeah.
So I watched all 3 of them.
Wow.
And I don't know. Let's just kind of jump into it. Like I said, it's 2014. It's just called Paddington, directed by Paul King, who also did the second one as well. And what's up with our little fella?
What's up with our little bear?
Let's jump into Paddington and who he is and how we liked him.
Yeah. Well, like I said, my first note is I am not a British child. I did not grow up with Paddington.
Yep.
And in fact, very cute pictures of me exist repping some Winnie the Pooh gear specifically. Tom, you said you kind of brought it to my attention that Winnie the Pooh is British as well.
Yeah.
You went through a crisis.
Almost had an existential crisis on our hand here. Because I'm watching Paddington and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's an adorable bear.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Even in 2014, the effects on the bear, very adorable bear. They do a great job. So I'm thinking, oh, this is like our Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
We both, us and our fellas across the pond, they had a bear as well.
Yeah.
So then I looked and it's like I knew this, but I didn't. But Winnie the Pooh, and maybe this is obvious to everybody listening, but Winnie the Pooh technically was made by a British guy.
Yeah.
In England. And then again, because I had a Pooh bear when I was little and existential crisis almost. But then I turned things around about 50.
Nationalistic crisis.
Yes. Again, here I go. I'm seeing Nisa 2 in the theater. It's all. I'm losing everything around me. You know what I mean?
You're losing everything.
So anyway, but then I quit. 15 minutes, I was back on my feet because I'm like, we got Mickey Mouse, man. It's fine. They literally don't have anything on us. But yeah, so they had 2 bears in their culture, which is surprising.
Very odd.
I don't know how we didn't have bears or wolves. I mean, we had Mickey, which is great, but we had no bear in our culture growing up. It's kind of weird.
Smokey the Bear.
Yeah.
That's not satisfying.
It's all about safety, though. No grit there.
Yeah, true.
The take off course
my
there.
note was, do you remember Babar, the elephant?
No one remembers that.
Get that out of here. No one remembers that. I was going to say, maybe we'll luck out with a live-action Babar or something. These first 2 films, directed by Paul King, we know him from the recent attempt at Wonka.
Yes.
I want to give him a lot of praise, honestly. This trilogy as a whole works so well because of the tone it sets in the first film, and obviously that's, to the books. There are so many qualities in these films that are unique, but especially in these scrambling comedy adventure type of sequences, all of these films have that as a highlight. Paddington's kindness is what makes it an instant classic, and that tone is why all 3 of these are worth checking out in some way, regardless of Paul King's departure for the new one. I guess he's still executive producer.
I think he did this. He didn't write the screenplay either for Peru, but he did the story. I think.
Oh, okay.
He did some story development.
Interesting.
So it's not like they kicked him to the curb.
Yeah, and his departure is not any kind of drama to it either.
Correct.
He just wants to do other things, which is totally cool.
Yeah, maybe not do Wonka and just do this actually, but it's fine.
And there's a Wonka too. I was looking at his coming. He's got 3
well, that
projects.
did surprisingly well in
Really?
theaters.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, go figure. Not no Johnny Depp Wonka. No one wants to see a movie ever again. Paddington 2014 is a family comedy adventure adapted from Michael Bond's series of children's books, again, spanning all the way back to 1958. He releases books up until the time he dies in, I believe, 2018, I want to say.
Really?
Yeah, he's like nonstop. Voiced by Ben Whishaw, Paddington is a talking bear from Peru that loves marmalade and sails to London in search for a kind family to take care of him. He happens to find the Browns, a family consisting of an uptight father, a free-spirit mother, and polar opposite brother and sister, all of them not sure what to make of their new furry friend. Paddington is on the search for an explorer that taught him English in the first place, and here to stop his cute efforts is Nicole Kidman, a Cruella de Vil type villain, and I'm not just talking about her as an actress.
Did you know she was in it before pressing start?
I think so.
It's just
Maybe
like, here we
not.
go. Of course.
Yeah,
I mean, she's a working girl. She's in like half of everything that came out in the past 25 years.
For real. I would say something I didn't expect to love was how the story just doesn't flinch one moment in having a talking bear integrate with British society.
I loved it.
Yeah. I thought it was really cute. Like, stick with me here. It's not like there's other talking animals. My assumption is that they would just be, all right, this is a world with talking animals and they're used to it. No, it's just Paddington and no one freaks out about it. They just take it, very, on the chin. But it's something I had to get over for this first watch. Once you get past that, you can really appreciate the kind of the timidness of Ben Wishaw's voice acting. Apparently, this was going to be Colin Firth doing the voice acting for Paddington.
Oh, I'm glad it was Ben Whishaw.
I agree.
Yeah,
100%. I think Firth wouldn't have been gentle enough. Where Ben's kind of boyishness to it.
He is boyish, especially back in 2014 now.
Absolutely.
Like, he's pretty young. I think he's like young 30s doing this, and he has a natural, I don't know. He's a small guy. He's Q from, if you don't know who Ben Whishaw is, he's Q in the latest James Bond movies.
Yep.
It's a really good fit.
Absolutely. I would just say it's a case of just fantastic voice casting for this, and I just really couldn't imagine anyone else. I was trying to...
Nicholas Hoult, I could have seen doing it.
Really?
Well, just pick any British person relatively in their late 20s, early 30s at the time.
True. Well,
Ben did a great job. That's what I tried to say.
We're up having it for cute. My favorite jokes in this were just kind of the handful of quick edits we get. Sometimes, quick music cuts, but also sketch-style jokes, which is actually kind of unique to this first one, cutting away to something. All of these movies will improve on one aspect of the humor, and I think these cutaway gags are just really the best in the first one. It's just really undeniable that this works off of British charm, and Tom, you might hate me for it, but I was really totally won over by the British charm.
That's fine. That's all right.
I know in the parking lot seeing 3, you were just kind of like, it's not, it's so British,
It is. These movies are very British.
Extreme.
Especially 1 and 2, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're very British.
Yeah.
They're very British.
I think what works for me is just like, I like British people interacting with British people. It's such a weird example, but it's the only thing I can think of. I like Hot Fuzz for that reason, the Edgar Wright movie.
Yeah.
That, like, the villagers in Hot Fuzz, they're like hokiness, what we would call, maybe describe as like corny or hokey in the States, is just so charming. Like, they're just naturally funny, and, the little jokes that they crack between each other. And that wit, that natural little wit is there in almost like every interaction with Paddington. So, charmed my pants off.
Well, good. I'm glad you were charmed. I think my issue is, and I'll speak for both of these movies now. So for the first 2 now,
okay,
they have a softness to them, and I think they're weirdly quiet. There's an unenergetic feeling about the movies, and I don't think that's the best thing for a kid film. I don't feel an energy to the film.
Okay,
I almost feel like things are constantly falling flat. Like actors aren't super boisterous to the point where I told you about who's the main woman.
Sally Hawkins?
Yeah,
Yep.
Sally Hawkins. I told, especially in the second one, she's like whispering all of her lines.
Yeah.
She's whispering all of her lines.
Checked out in the second one.
And I'm trying to figure out, why are you doing that? Why, speak up. You're on a movie set. You're in a movie. I want people to be boisterous. I want them to be a little bit louder. And there's a tameness. There's a quietness to the actors. It's quaint. It's cute. It has zero grit, these films. And that's what I mean is when I say it's very British. Okay. Rightfully so, because it's a extremely British character. It doesn't have a grittiness to it almost, or at least doesn't have a loudness.
Well, sure.
And to where it's not that...
Where with 3, you got that from some of the adventure.
Well, it was going to be a little bit. I told you when we walked into the movie, I said, I think this is going to be my Paddington, because it's like, get him in the jungle. Get him in. Come on here. Let's have a little bit of exploration.
Get him in the jungle.
I want an adventure. So...
You know where you are?
So, I was never laughing, and it's like, oh, this is a cute movie. I'm not going to say it felt...
I can't say I was like outbursting laughing, but there was... That cuteness does get to you. You are smiling when you watch it.
I won't feel as... I won't go as far to be like, it was a depressive feeling movie, because
Really?
I felt like everything felt flat. But it wasn't... I'll just repeat myself and say, it wasn't an energetic film.
Very interesting.
Part of it does have to do a little bit with sound. I thought the sound could have been pumped up louder. I thought the music could have pumped louder when it did. It didn't hit. Nothing hit. It was just like, I'm not going to do an impression, but it's just, it's how I would feel having tea, over there.
Oh, sure.
It's just...
You're like, hey,
it's like, this is fun. This is all right, That's how I felt watching
That's
the movie.
a daily ratings trip. We go to London and we take you to
Tom experiences tea time.
A formal tea ceremony. You go, yes, all right.
We had talked about it before we walked in the movie, and I was surprised to hear you say, like, oh, I really liked it. You enjoyed the atmosphere.
Yes.
And I was tolerating the atmosphere, I think.
Sure. And don't get me wrong, I did have trouble or difficulty kind of just enjoying these films as kid movies. A little bit just because... I had the reviews to write, but there was something there. I was just like, it wasn't able to reach into kind of my kid brain, and I was just able to kind of enjoy it. It was kind of like, all right, I'm watching these for the podcast. I really wouldn't, watch these.
Sure.
So I'm with you there. There's just something there that I think is impressive, how many dynamic comedy scenes we get. I think these movies, and especially the Paul King ones,
I think we're almost treating these together as 2, which I'm fine with.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
They are, pretty close, even despite the, the year gap.
Yeah.
They're just kind of masters at making mundane moments and kind of infusing some sort of slapstick adventure with Paddington.
Yes. Paddington, yes.
Yeah.
That kind of crap, yeah.
A lot of these, this comes in a lot of comedic styles. mostly just being kind of a type of physical comedy where Paddington is clumsy and springs into a mess. And frankly, this works in a very classic way. The third film even ripping off a Charlie Chaplin shot directly where the building falls and then he's in the
he's in the middle of the thing,
yeah. So I think even when most story, this one specifically, even when most story beats in this first film are simply, and not really complicated,
the stakes are small.
Just jumping from one spot to another and getting some information. I was appreciative of it because there was always something done to either pair Paddington with a new family member or splice in one of these type of, not action scenes, but like slapstick comedy scenes to keep things fresh. I feel like it's that rhythm that made this an enjoyable watch versus the two others, which kind of have their own appeal. But it's that strength was where I think Paddington 1 is still worth a watch. We're going to go ahead and give Paddington 2014 a 73.
73%. Wow. I'm a little surprised at that.
Yeah, I think it was a really high-quality movie.
Good. I'm happy because when I was watching it, I was just like, oh, Vince's going to be so annoyed that we're watching these. 73 is great. So, I always say your animation film, 72 is your classic good.
Yeah, true that.
So it's a tick above that.
True that.
Paddington, I laid the first one I consider Paddington in London. The second one I consider Paddington in Shawshank. And then the third one is just naturally Paddington in Peru.
That is
how
so
spot on?
Brilliant.
Am I spot on?
I was watching too because I watched it out of order too. It was my last one this week, and I was dying when you said Paddington and Shawshank. I mean, like, wow, really good.
And Paddington 1 specifically is very local film.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like, oh, he's around the block at here. He catches that guy there. It seems like we're literally in the same neighborhood for the whole movie. So
absolutely.
Another thing, very British, very quaint. We just stay in our own, whatever they call them there. What do they call them?
I don't know.
Villages? Are they village heavy over there?
I don't know if it's village heavy.
Okay.
You're picking a lot of people catching strays this episode. Who would have thought of Paddington?
I don't know what to do,
I just gotta...
I mean, the walls are closing in on me here, Vin. I got the Chinese to the left. I got these Brits coming over.
These Brits. Oh, man.
I'm not going to give it a two shoes.
Listen, if you want to shit on it, you can shit on it.
I think I shit on it enough.
Okay.
How much, I'm relatively negative on it.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I'm not mad on it because it's a super British property, being a super British film, and I think it does really well for that.
Yes.
And which is why it did really well over there, and it's whatever. It seems.
But your expectation was to be wowed in a way that you didn't know.
I'm just saying,
maybe to break that mold.
It didn't. Yeah, it didn't have a Pixar adultness to it.
Okay.
And it didn't have a liveliness to it that I'm so used to U.S. animated films. I mean, you watch Puss in Boots that has an animal stuff. Even Zootopia or something. These things have some teeth to them.
Sure.
And this just has cute and quaint.
And that's one flavor.
It's fun. It's
Absolutely.
what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
It is one flavor and a little soft.
Yeah.
So then we have 2017, 3 years later. So Michael Bond, the guy who created this, you're right, he lived till 91. He died in 2017, but he was on set for Paddington 2 still.
That's wonderful.
And I think that's awesome for him to see that realized in a film.
Absolutely.
2017, just called Paddington 2. I call it Paddington and Shawshank.
Which really should be renamed. That's amazing.
And the same deal. I mean, we're setting it up like we're kind of just talking about the two as one. Still Paul King directing. He's still also doing some of the writing. How do we like this? Maybe we explore a little bit more of London. Mm-hmm. He gets himself into bigger mischief. Mm-hmm. And what did you think?
I did like this. I mean, this one is the big reputation where Paddington kind of became this meme onto itself.
This did so well.
A perfect film.
This did unbelievably well critic-wise when it came out.
Absolutely, yeah. Again, Paul King, full returning cast on this one. And off the success of the first, we get a lot more cameos from what feels like every British actor possible. The latest Doctor Who is in this.
He's in the first one too, but yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, the old guy, right?
Yeah. He's the policeman?
And he had the hots for not Kate Winslet, the person I always get confused with Kate Winslet. She's in Everything We Hate Her. She was the bad person in the movie.
Nicole Kidman.
Yes, he had the hots for Nicole Kidman's character.
I love how you jogged my memory specifically to Nicole Kidman.
No, but that Doctor Who.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. Either way, though, I feel like there is a lot there that the popularity of these films really, attracted a lot of cameos from British actors, which I think is enjoyable. I know, as far as like, the split we always talk about between this is for kids, this is for adults, within these movies, within these children's films, there's something to that there. The legacy of this second film, though, is, man, it is around a meme of flawless scores across the board, and it feels like the Legend of Paddington is really born around this time, doing wonders for Rotten Tomatoes PR and even making its way into the collective movie-going culture itself. Paddington 2, or like you said, I mean, really, Paddington and Shawshank, I would sign a petition to change the name retroactively to Paddington and Shawshank. Once again, a family comedy adventure, but starts to lean a little bit more heavily on that adventure side, which will reach its peak in the third film. It's Paddington's aunt's birthday, and he wants to get her something special with no way to have her come visit. He finds a pop-up book illustrating all the sights of London that he's come to know living with the Browns. Paddington must save up doing odd jobs to buy the book, capturing the hearts of many he comes across around town, and growing his world beyond just his little home. All except for one, a maniacal actor played by Hugh Grant that hatches a plan to get Paddington framed and sends him to prison. Now in the can, we see what the little bear does best, inspiring those around him to do better, while the Browns try to figure out the mystery and clear Paddington's good name. I think Paul King really just did a great job at making a much bigger and more inventive sequel. We talk about very successful second swings at something. I really try not to bring up Predator 2 a lot. I can't tell you how quickly my brain goes to Predator 2, but there are countless examples of, sequels almost better than the first. This is definitely one of those. Pretty much every aspect of the first I feel is improved upon, in line with what I was, saying with the adventure beats of the story. Writing-wise, the first film maybe lacked a bit of conflict to keep things interesting. I think that's what kind of you were getting at. You didn't have the grit to it.
Yeah, the conflict is Paddington and London.
Exactly.
Fresh eyes, fresh whole experience, yeah.
Yeah. But this second one doesn't have really that problem at all. Paddington charming the prison and the Browns having this mystery on the outside gives a very effective back at the ranch style kind of A-plot, B-plot work that works very well. And while that B-plot might be missing some of the cute character pairing the first had, I really didn't love the Brown story in this. Paddington's side of the story is even better because of just how cute this idea is. It's just so sweet. My praise for these films are really the kindness of it. And something about this prison section struck a perfect balance where something like Wes Anderson's Grand Budapest Hotel, a similar kind movie in a lot of ways, and I think the quality of that goes beyond just a feel-good movie. I think this had that same quality, that it goes beyond just a feel-good movie. There is something kind of with substance there. As far as the human cast, I really loved Sally Hawkins in the first film, mostly for kind of her adorable motherly connection that she had with Paddington. Plus, I've always loved her from Shape of Water, which actually came out the same year in 2017. I don't. That's. Are
you sure that's not 19?
No.
Oh, you're right. It's 18. Oh, it's 17. Yeah.
I know you're not a fan of that. That's Del Toro. So.
Well, we're fine. I never watched it.
Oh, okay.
I talk like I have, not on purpose, but I know enough about it.
I know enough about Del Toro. But Hawkins, man, feels like she's checked out in this one. I'm not sure if she popped a couple Xanax before filming or what, but she is glazed over. Is this what you're talking about with just her soft-spoken and whatnot?
There's something. She's whispering speaking the entire time to the point where I just want to be, hey, just speak up, speak your normal voice. You have this indoor tone sometimes. I just don't get it. And everyone's a little naturally soft-spokenness. It's all the kind British thing, but with her, it's just I don't know, act, someone be more on stage about it. I don't. Yeah. It just had a softness to it that was not doing it for me.
Yeah, I tried to do some research into it. I
didn't see this checked out, by the way. I just saw
think she was checked out. I think she was high. She is actually the only recast we get for the third one, so I didn't know if there was some drama there. Like with Paul King, no, it's just kind of I am taking a creative decision to leave.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, but I really do love. Why I bring this up is I really do love Sally Hawkins. I think she's a very interesting actress, but. Here in the second one, it was actually kind of a detraction. Hugh Grant is very hammy in this. He obviously plays the bad guy, which puts my kind of theory of exclusively in villain roles way back earlier than I thought. I was saying, like, after the 2020s, he's started doing this only villain role. He's a villain in this too. But my single favorite character in this, it's got to go to Brendan Gleeson as the prison chef Knuckles. Just probably the most enjoyable aspect out of all of these movies for me. Just that switch of just like, he's
the fact that guy is in this movie.
yeah, exactly. Also another example of just like the British actors, they come out, they're popping out of this movie. It's like every British actor.
The big one too in this one, and I think the first one is Michael Gambon.
Yes.
Plays the Uncle Bear.
Yes. What a great voice.
Yeah.
If anything, you wish...
he's in it for 30 seconds. But
yeah, exactly. You wish he's in it more. I think if there's one argument for why this is seen as the best of the three, it has to be connected to those physical comedy and the antic style scenes that are really stepped up in this. For the first half, having Paddington need a job is a perfect excuse to pack these type of scenes in. And once we're in the prison... It's great seeing how he lifts up this like cartoonishly evil setting. All three of these films experiment with mixed animation techniques as well, but I think there's a good case for this one being the best as well when it comes to that. Playing around with stop motion was just great to see. I just really like that. I like the picture book sequence.
All three, I'll say that now, all three of these films take a second to change up an animation style.
Yeah.
And it's nice. They all do it, and they have a little touch, and it's like, wow, that's good. That's putting a little exclamation mark on this film in a certain way. It gives it a speciality to it.
Absolutely.
And cool. Very cool.
And yeah, I think it's also not the same in each one. Third
That's
one
correct, yep.
looks probably most impressive. It's like this like flowing kind of watercoloring. But yeah, I just really, really enjoyed any kind of switch up with that. But really, honestly... this falls in a similar ballpark for me. I do think it is the best out of the three. It just happens to be stitched together a little stronger. We're going to go ahead and give Paddington 2 2017 a 77.
77%, pretty good score. I got to tell you,
yeah.
I'm glad you kind of liked it. Actually, that's a very good score.
I think
you thought this was a good movie.
Absolutely,
just flat out,
absolutely,
a very good movie.
And I think also the rare case where you just kind of can probably jump into this one if you are curious about the Paddingtons. Maybe you just like
you really can.
What's the hype behind the meme of Paddington?
Yeah, you don't need to watch these in order.
Yeah, no.
I mean, they're kids' movies. You don't really have to say about anything, but. Like when it comes to the Inside Outs that we brought up before, I would watch the first one before the second one.
Yes, absolutely.
This one is a little bit more. Yeah. You can skip if you want.
Absolutely.
I can recognize that Paddington 2 was the better movie. I didn't know if I loved it more or less. Honestly, I don't like the prison stuff.
Really?
All that much.
Really?
It broke. Like you're right. It totally sidelined the family plot.
It really did.
And I kind of had zero interest. I like seeing what's-his-face as the bad guy. And I thought he's good, and that's kind of the character he's becoming in a lot of films now.
Yeah.
Kind of a hammy...
Hugh Grant, you mean.
Yeah, Hugh Grant, a hammy bad guy. But
Yep.
seeing Hugh was just fine. The family plot, you just kind of don't care about that much. And I don't like to see Paddington, I think, contained. So when he spends so much time in prison, he's contained.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but again, I can definitely see that this was the better film. Because in the first one, I think falls flat too much.
Yeah, there's almost no conflict at all.
Right. This one, there's more conflict. I just don't know if I loved it.
Sure.
Again, not going to give it a thing. It's great. It's cute. It's still quaint. Still British. Great. It is exactly what it needs to be, which is just kind of not the best film for me. And that's why, and my feeling towards them, because I'm going, it's like, I have respect for these movies. I have respect for the films, but as a watching experience and just like returnability to them, Also, after watching these two, it's why we're walking in, standing there, and I'm going, this is the one, I think. Get Paddington out of London. Get him going, get it back in Peru.
Let's freshen up the setting of it.
Take me on an adventure. And now he really has like, all kinds of stuff that can happen to Paddington in the jungle. Well, before
I think that was a little Winnie the Pooh actually in there.
Oh, was it? Before we get into Paddington in Peru, though, folks, we want to remind people we're going on with a value for value system. We are completely producer supported. We're not going to do an advertising break we're not going to do an ad break every 15 minutes on the show. We're not going to have a bunch of advertising and pop-up ads on this site. We're a clean operation here. We're not going to have paywalls where you need to log in. You need to pay us monthly in order to access any content. We're not doing Patreon where you have to give a certain amount a month to get extra content. Everything we do, it's for free. It's there. Vin and I put in a lot of time bringing you this every single week. We enjoy ourselves. But if you are also enjoying it and if you're finding it valuable, well, can you send us value back? Value for value. Head to the donations tab on thedailyratings.com and send a donation of any amount. We do have some set donations, but big or small, it doesn't matter. We can't tell you how much we appreciate it. We're doing this for a few different reasons. One, everybody's on their own finances, and we don't want to make you pay a certain amount of money because $5, $10, $20, $30, $50 is a lot different to everybody individually. We also don't want to do the advertising route because it's a worse product. It's a worse product. We don't want to be influences in any way. And also I'm listening to podcasts now, and since the ad revenue per ad is going down and down and down, they're getting more and more advertising, and it's getting to be legitimately a bad product.
Absolutely.
Like, do you really want us stopping here and between every single movie do some type of advertising break and talking about, I threw out all my underwear when I found MeUndies. It's a worse product.
Or the mattress stuff. I remember you saying that early on in the podcast.
Well, it's an industry will go through and they'll hit it hard for 6 months and then it'll be the new thing. So what are we at now? We did the meals at first, then we had the mattresses.
Yeah.
Okay, we're still going through air purifiers are a big one that's going through the market. We don't want to be that. It's a worse product. Yeah. It's annoying, and it's also all about how many downloads can me and Vin get from you guys, from the listeners, and then we go and sell that to advertising company to try to get better ad dollars. It's just a game. People that say that you become the product, the more and more ads you have. And that's true. We're not in it for the money because we're having fun doing this. We really are. But like I said, it does take time. And if you're finding it valuable, if you're enjoying yourself every week on the podcast or checking out this site, if you could, just send us something back. It's the donations tab on thedailyratings.com. Check out the site too. The site's great. We got the shop that's launched. And it's just great. We're so happy to see more and more people listening. So we hope more and more people will start to produce. And we're starting a Daily Ratings family here. Don't forget to write a producer note in when you send in a donation. You can email us at tom.vin@thedailyratings.com. That's our email. And when you produce, write in a note. It could be questions, comments, critiques, suggestions. Ask us anything. Whatever you want to say or ask, hit us with it. That's where we're going to address it right here on the producer segment. We appreciate all the producers so far, the Daily Ratings. And if you want to be an executive producer of next week's show, episode 175, just go to thedailyratings.com. Okay. So we have Paddington in London, Paddington in Shawshank, and now we have officially named Paddington in Peru, where our bear is going home, where he came from. Big jump in this one. So the last one came out in 2017, so it's a fair jump that this is coming out in 2025.
Oh, yeah,
now.
absolutely.
It's a different director. Things are a little bit different in this. I had high hopes. We watched it together in a weird theater experience. It was packed.
Oh, it definitely was.
It was packed, and part of the theater was up just hooting and hollering. Some people were bopping along to the music, and then some people were just as quiet as me and Vin.
Yep, absolutely.
But Paddington in Peru, how's our little guy doing, Vin? Take it away.
Well, I'll start with that theater experience. A packed Sunday morning theater. Tom and I saw yet another kids movie together. The only thing saving me from embarrassment was the promise of just a delicious Mexican meal afterwards. Tom and I got a spot that we go to.
We do. Yes, we do.
That is, they'll have to pay some ad dollars if we want to plug them. not to go back on the producer segment. Actually, I mean, really, the real embarrassment came from the other childless adults who seemed to being the only ones enjoying the movie, while the poor parents who came with children tried to grapple them into seats for nearly 2 hours.
Yeah, the teenagers, a lot of teenagers being really loud and enjoying themselves. And then you had some grandparents enjoying themselves.
Yes, yep.
And then if you're in between age 21 and 61, a little quiet.
just along for the ride. Yeah. Maybe now that you say it, maybe there was
like 18-year-olds howling.
Yeah, and maybe they grew up the last decade with Paddington.
Well,
so
Yeah. Are you putting that together now?
Kind of.
Still, control yourself. You're in public. You have a
true.
beard, okay?
Yeah,
You'd stop
true.
dancing along to the music.
Yeah, it was cringe. It was very, very cringe. But sadly, we don't round out this trilogy with Paul King in the director's chair, who really has done a phenomenal job so far. Like I mentioned, he's going to step away to do Wonka during this time, and has 3 additional family projects all in the works, all family projects, including Wonka 2. Instead, we get Dougal Wilson, a director from mostly music videos, actually spanning all the way back to the early 2000s. This seeming to be his first feature film.
Yeah.
So I would say as a first feature film, partially animated or otherwise, I thought this was a good movie as far as a directorial debut. I mean, granted, he's not like brand new, but I thought this was a good showing for Wilson.
Yeah. It's a big project to kind of helm that up.
Absolutely. You're probably sick of hearing me saying it, folks, but once again, Paddington in Peru is a family comedy adventure yet again. Interestingly enough, it leans probably the most into the adventure theming with the story idea that is frankly perfect for a sequel. Paddington has fully adapted to London, becoming his true home, but his Aunt Lucy begins to long for him all the way from the bear retirement home in Peru. The Browns have grown alongside our little bear, once again are finding their family needs to bond a bit more. The trip to Peru being a perfect spark of excitement for everyone. Upon arriving, Aunt Lucy has mysteriously fled into the Amazon jungle, setting the whole family on a proper adventure for the first time to find her immediately. The scheme is afoot, though, as like before, there always seems to be opportunities and opportunists surrounding our little bear. The shady bear retirement home and greed-ridden tour guide all have suspicious interest in Paddington, while he tries to reconnect with his first home. I would say it's a bit of an odd flip having the first and second film do so much to make mundane moments adventurous for Paddington.
Mm-hmm.
And now this just becoming an actual adventure movie. Paddington meets Uncharted or Paddington meets Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, that really is kind of the elevator pitch for this, and not a bad pitch. I think kind of off the back of what you were saying, Tom, I mean, there's almost like a no-duh-ness to like, oh, why wouldn't the sequel be him going back to Peru once he settles in London?
Right.
You know?
I think the reason why, well, I mean, because it's such a British thing, it would kind of make sense to maybe keep him in England and just expand the story even further within the country.
Sure.
I think if you were to look at the box office and then if you were to look at the critics kind of reviews coming out of this, it feels a little bit like, oh, you're trying to squeeze the last droplets of juice out of this. You're the orange is almost dry, and you're trying to get the last bit.
Right.
It's just very common where you have something success. You have these first two; they're very much their own films, and to take this gap in time and come back with a third one with such a jump in story, it can feel a little bit just like
cash grabby,
and let's go around it again. We'll try to do something different, but I think there's enough here with the story that works, and part of it is the tether with Peru, and it does kind of make sense.
Absolutely. It is a hanging thread for Paddington's story as far as the movies go. And honestly, I mean, as far as action goes, this has something to kind of keep you interested into it. Just now being a full adventure movie, especially the most adventure out of these 3 movies. I don't know, the gauge of the crowd, kids being a little bored with it seemed like. I don't know really where to weigh that, but
They weren't. It was weird.
Yeah, it really was weird.
Like, they could have been enjoying themselves, just not as much as those teenagers.
Yeah.
You know?
I think, maybe there's just such a variance of, like, those teenagers, like, that was the best movie for them. I think for me, by not having Paddington interact with as many people as possible, it does kind of slightly diminish what was key to all of these movies so far, that kind of transforming hearts around him, everyone he meets, that being the secret formula to Paddington. Don't get me wrong, though. Like I said, the idea of Paddington returning to Peru again, it should have been the second film from the get-go, from a story perspective, and honestly is just a no-brainer sequel idea in the writer's room. This is not a case where, even if it is a cash grab, I don't feel like this is sequelitis, that they're really pulling teeth on this story. This is I feel like there's enough of a gap in the story that you can make this. So, on the other hand, I think a lot more is on our actors' shoulders, and they don't really disappoint. Like I said, Sally Hawkins is the only one not returning. The mom recasted to Emily Mortimer, I think. Mortimer? I haven't really praised Hugh Bonneville playing the dad, but I feel like this one, he's definitely gotten more and more comfortable in the role as time goes on, both also like in the arc of his character becoming more lax.
Yeah.
I feel like he had some moments in this that were cute and funny.
Yeah.
Comedically, though, the standout for me is Olivia Colman. I really did love her.
She is in this. Olivia Colman is in this. As I told Devin in the parking lot afterwards, I think Olivia Colman is partaking in some other local South American crops than just marmalade and oranges. She's going for it. She's going.
So in the second one, Sally's on pills, and then this one, Olivia's got some ganja. I feel like she really did do a great job. I mean, it was a ridiculous character, this nun of head nun of a bare retirement home, but there was something to it there.
Yeah.
I do have a soft spot, I think, for her acting.
Oh, I like Coleman.
Yeah.
Oh, she's good. Yeah,
absolutely. My last note, acting wise, is between this and the latest Indiana Jones. Though I guess Antonio Banderas is just doomed to play treasure-hungry boat captains.
He was in Uncharted too.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah, he was one of the bad guys in Uncharted.
Oh my god.
That's what you're thinking of, maybe.
He's in the Dial of Destiny, the latest Indiana Jones. He's one of Indy's contacts, and he comes along with the boat.
In Dial of Destiny?
Yeah.
I dozed off at that point in the theater. I'm not even kidding. Yeah,
rightfully so. Well, I apparently dozed off in
he's just being typecast. Yeah.
Treasure hungry. I don't know. It's a new type of typecasting. But yeah, I think overall, I thought what has kind of taken a back seat most are these antic style scenes. And again, they're replaced very directly with adventure moments, true adventure moments. They're not having to make an adventure or kind of a scrambling comedy out of Paddington washing windows or clogging the sink. There is true blue adventure in this. And like I mentioned in the first review, there's a lot of interesting shots that are call-outs to the physical comedy that I think has been kind of through the whole series. There's a direct nod in this to probably the most famous Charlie Chaplin shot where the building falls on Paddington and he kind of squeezes through that
Sound of Music
window.
too, right? Olivia Colman with the guitar. Did you get any Sound of Music vibes from it?
No, I didn't.
All right. But the Charlie Chaplin one, yes.
You're right. Okay. Well, listen. Out of two obscure references, we can cut both. It's a children's movie in the 2020s. I would say really the formula for the charm. It's kind of slightly changed a little bit in the movie, but I would still say it's a very solid family movie with plenty to love. And I think under the right circumstances, it should not really bore children at all because of these adventure beats. We're going to go ahead and give Paddington in Peru a 65.
Okay, 65, not a bad score.
Yeah.
Listen, I called it, and I think I'm right in this one. I thought Paddington 3 was going to be the best, and in my opinion, it was.
That's great.
This had actual grit. I think it definitely had some heart going on at times.
Yeah.
So I just think we got our most out of it. There's still something going on with the sound that is making it lackluster or not exciting.
Really?
There is something soft-spoken. There's something with the way the music mixing is done. And the sound mixing I don't love. So the music could be pumped up as far as volume goes. And as far as actors acting, I want louder. I want more energetic. I want more boisterous.
Sure.
I don't want whispering or this quiet talking, which is so much of this. And it's like, maybe it's just the British thing that can't get into my head. Like, I need more. I need, you know what I mean?
Your problem with the British people.
There's something with Antonio Banderas where it's just like, give me the full. Well, actually, he's trying a little bit. He
does.
He's probably going the hardest.
Yeah,
Olivia Colman as well. I guess it's the family. I guess it's the family and then the daughter of Banderas. But
honest question: did you feel it was because they recasted the mom in this?
Yeah.
Would you have preferred to maybe recast the kids for But it's cool that they stayed with the project.
Keep the kids.
Okay.
Let's be honest. They don't want the smallest part of the movie.
Yeah.
So I don't really care. The fact that they're the same kids, I'm fine with it. I would just, I would have loved to see Sally Hawkins stay.
Yes.
I think it would have been kind of like better just to see the cohesion of all three films, really.
Absolutely.
And this is good. I don't think this too much has a tinge of sequelitis. It is a different film. This definitely is the third movie in the trilogy for sure. But I don't know. I walked out. I wasn't ranting and raving about it. This is the best one. But I walked out going, yeah, all right, this is the best one.
I feel like all of these score way towards like middle of the road for you just because you're kind of like, it's just another kids movie.
It is just another kids movie, which is a problem for me. Yes.
Yeah.
I was definitely, I think, going a little too hot on these.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say that.
Failed campaign.
But Paddington in Peru, in my opinion, is the best out of the three. No, I'm not going to give it two shoes. You know what? I am going to.
Okay.
Because if I gave one to Mufasa, I want to give one to this one.
Oh,
and
sure.
we did see it together.
Yeah.
This gets one shoe, that's it, with the laces tied.
Okay, what did Mufasa get?
I think a one shoe with the laces tied, to be honest with
okay.
you.
Yeah.
Because I kind of feel the same way. I think this was slightly better, but this was slightly better than Mufasa. That being said, Mufasa had more grit and had more scary moments.
Sure.
A little bit more at stake there. More jungle. We got lions.
Right.
It's heavier. That movie is heavier. This one, I'm glad we were in the jungle. I love being in the jungles of Peru. All good.
Yeah.
Good vibes. My middle marker there. One shoe, one lace.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Okay. Any other wrap up? Stuff with that?
Nope, we still got one more.
Okay, so that's Paddington. Signed, sealed, delivered.
Yeah.
Well, Captain America: Brave New World, the 35th film of the MCU universe, or the MC universe. I don't know.
You wanted to see this.
I was slightly excited just because I knew the movie was coming for a while. I remember when the first shot on set came out.
Yep.
Yeah, teased, and it looked cool, and it's like, hey, you got Harrison Ford. And then the fact that it was turning into this Manchurian Candidate type movie. I like the way the trailer was cut, but it was too long, so it showed too much. But the way the style of the trailer was, I liked.
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head as far as my pet peeve. I mean, the trailer gave away everything.
Right. And, Anthony Mackie, it's like, okay, let him give him a go. Let him give him a go, whatever.
Absolutely.
So I'm not excited for any Marvel film at any time in my life.
At any time.
But I was thinking maybe this one would be somewhat
That's why
cool.
it surprised me.
Well, because it looked to be a political thriller.
Right.
I love political thriller, and we've got Air Force One guy back. And, he plays a president great. He plays a president multiple things.
Right.
Even when he's a heart surgeon in Chicago, he's great. I didn't kill my wife. You do a better version.
I didn't kill my wife.
Right. This 90s Harrison Ford took up so many of these kind of roles.
Yes.
And now
That's a very good point.
Yes, that's why I was excited about it.
Yeah. Well,
right.
you didn't see it.
The news was many.
Yes.
But I will say I'm excited to hear what you came down with this on, because there's a big range for this film. And what I'm finding now is this film a 0% or is this film a 50%?
Oh, right.
And that's a big difference.
Yeah.
That's a big difference.
Absolutely.
Especially when it comes to the Marvel Universe, where there's 35 films stuck in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the second to last film of Phase 4. Phase 5.
5.
And then
you're probably more well read on than me.
Right, because I did it. I think I'll tell you what. I did all this research for the news show, and I was like, let's go through the phases, get everybody caught up.
Yeah.
The first film, the last film, the phases. And I thought it was great. After I went back and listened to it, I confused myself then. Even though I knew all the information. I'm just like, where am I in all this?
Where am I?
Thunderbolts coming up in May is going to end Phase 5 in the Marvels.
Thank
and
God.
then Fantastic Four this summer is going to unleash the new phase.
Yep.
It's my understanding, too, that there was a lot of bow tying, a lot of open questions that needed to be answered in this. So almost like, let's just wrap things up, and here's the movie.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of that as far as unexpected references. I would argue questions no one was asking for.
Okay, well.
Maybe they felt pressure from fans at a different level. So.
And I also think it's a thing of we're starting Phase 6 soon. We got to put some things to bed.
Yes.
Or just answer questions so we get it out of the way.
Absolutely. More out of the way type of stuff.
Another thing that I just wasn't sounding good with the movie, it's, again, you have Harrison Ford. It's first Captain America without the original Chris Evans. scenes. I was expecting more punch or just things to be done more professionally. After hearing how the entire movie was shot, and then they had to do reshoots upon reshoots.
Yeah, 2+ years of reshoots. It's crazy.
It's like to the point where a lot of the movie was made after the original movie was done.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
That's also
It's not a recipe for success.
And what is going on with the team at Marvel? So much went down that doesn't bode well for this film.
Doesn't equal a good film.
Carlos
Esposito,
his character was all reshoots, never in the original film. They were like, let's just add this character in.
Yep.
All this to me is problematic, but it still confuses me because, like, is it the worst or is it just confusing or are there just elements of it where it's eye-rolly?
Yeah.
That's what, let's put your stamp on it. Brave New World, Captain America. How was your time?
Well, it's definitely not a 0. So I'll not be, classic internet reactionary to this, saying it's the worst movie in the world. It is. Let me put it in perspective as well. It is not Thor: Love and Thunder. It is not like this is surprisingly bad for the MCU.
Madam Web, which we didn't see.
Right. So there's a lot there that I feel like is still functional. Folks, I honestly was going to start with some of the required reading like I like to do with going into these movies, but I'm not really sure how much that's going to matter going forward. I don't really necessarily or intend to say that as an insult. I'm sure Disney would love more passing interest in these movies, but if you look back, every MCU project in the last 3 years has been burdened with a heavy dose of catch-up exposition within the movie itself. My own opinion is a bit harsher. With the heights of how crazy the MCU has gotten and is only going to get crazier on a cosmic scale, who really gives a fuck about a random Disney Plus show that might have a sliver of relevance? But honestly, I could not have guessed, even if I had a gun to my head, I couldn't have guessed the cocktail of in-universe references this was going to pull from anyway. An early news breakdown highlights everything from post-Endgame events to the Eternals, jump scare. No one cared. That's what I mean, like, no one was asking. And even the forgotten Edward Norton Hulk movie that has been pushed aside,
totally
like the
pushed
redheaded
aside.
stepchild, but now they're just like, oh, and now is the time we need to really tie back to this. So, in Captain America: Brave New World, we see the legacy of Captain America passed down to Sam Wilson, who has to struggle with the immense expectations that come along with the Shield. Anthony Mackie, a.k.a. New Cap Who Dis, is given everything from... No, I thought that was...
No, it's good.
I thought that was going to get you. Is given everything from his own sidekick replacing his old role as Falcon to a whole bunch of new tech to compensate for the fact that he does not have the super soldier serum pumping through his veins.
That was my big question. Okay.
Yeah.
Did they
It's not even, it's kind of an arc of the film. Semi-spoilers, he doesn't take it.
Okay.
This is the new Captain
My question
America.
was, does he have the serum going into the movie? Like,
No,
am
not at
I
all.
missing something?
No.
Okay.
And
Does it
if
not
anything,
exist anymore? Is it like...
No. If anything, the result of his Disney Plus show is him battling with this. Does he take the serum? Does he not take the serum? And he doesn't. This movie then rehashes that entirely.
Oh, Jesus.
Does he take the serum? Does he not take the serum?
Right.
So it's a lot. Harrison Ford replaces William Hurt as Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, now President of the United States, and tapping on Cap's shoulders, wanting to rebuild the Avengers. I gotta be honest, though, folks, that is only one of many loose plot threads thrown around, however, as a mysterious force pulls strings from the shadows with everything from sleeper cell agents ready to kill and a world divided by the aftermath of cosmic forces, creating a new age for everyone. A lot has been said about this, folks. I'm definitely late to the punch as far as my review, but mostly the consensus is that this is a very cobbled together movie from over 2+ years of reshoots, and I absolutely agree. It's a stink on it you cannot get away from.
You visually see it.
The tone shifts crazy. Yeah, you feel it.
Yeah.
That it's a cobbled together kind of mess. What really killed this for me, though, is how conflicted the tone of the story was. All at once, this tries to be extra badass and extra funny and just clearly fails at both. Anthony Mackie works in the MCU because of his Will Smith corniness, but here the mix of comedy is really bland and just betrays what small crumbs of atmosphere the story creates by having just so many big events juggled. There is a gravity to this story, certainly. Every comedic beat, almost every comedic beat, not even in the usual like bad Marvel kind of way, it just fell so flat. It feels like plugged in. Mm-hmm. Like they had like 6 different jokes he has when he lands in a fight scene, and they were just like, what's the best one here? None of them really feel substantial. Also, on the badass side, the action side of it, in the shadow of Winter Soldier, this is also confusingly fumbles the easy badass points here. I'll save my thoughts on the magic of that movie for whenever we circle back to it for the podcast, but it feels like Brave New World overcompensates constantly in what was honestly effortless at the hands of the Russo, just taking our expectation of just like, oh, it's a superhero movie, and just cranking the badass just a little bit more. So you go, whoa, what is this? They could have done that. They go way overboard with it, and it fails in an entirely different way. Action-wise is honestly where this fell short of even popcorn entertainment for me. Certain cuts just don't make sense at all, especially in the more chaotic fight scenes. Not only mentioned, there are just some asinine side characters that they're just like, oh, this is what you're leading with? It's just like, who gives a I think a culprit here is absolutely in the fact that our heroes don't have superpowers technically, so they made fights more impactful in the edit. Realistically, though, it's probably yet another area that shows how scrambled the production was for this movie. Reshoots just never resulting in better action. I mean, maybe reshoots put some Band-Aid on some story problems or something in test screenings that didn't work, but a reshoot is never a recipe for better action, usually. I think a great example of this are the extensive air battles we get towards the end of the climax, which, man, they just feel so stupid having a little man with a little jet on his back outspeed fighter planes, and it's just like, and he doesn't have superpowers, and it's just like, it's so bad. It's so generic and so bad. And like I said, don't get me started on how just stupid our new hero additions are in this. They replace Falcon with a new actor. No one was asking for Falcon to be replaced. If anything, I think a great opportunity in this story was to be like, okay, he's Cap already. That's in the Disney Plus show. Mm-hmm. Let's find him a new Falcon. That's a nice, grounded, small story.
With the show.
Yeah, maybe, the president's like, hey, but you got to do bigger things, but he just wants to find his partner in crime. No. He starts off right away with the recast, and it's just like, all right, who cares? It's so inconsequential. There's also like a semi-replacement for Black Widow in this.
Really?
Yeah. I cannot tell you how genuinely confused I was with the casting for this. I'm not trying to be mean to the girl, but an action star she is not. I mean, like, it is really, really underwhelming and then just confusing why they felt they needed to add this. But folks, this wasn't exactly Marvel's Manchurian Candidate like I predicted. Did have elements of that, but only because it's that and 4 other different stories combined. It really was a story on rails to the one fight that was spoiled in every single trailer from the very start. We talked about this when we covered Deadpool and Wolverine. I saw the premiere of this trailer, and it shocked me how much they showed in that very first cut. That only getting worse and worse as the advertisement has continued. And Disney wonders why no one had any interest as the brand continues to just have zero surprises to make any of us actually give a damn. We're going to go ahead and give Captain America Brave New World a 44.
Okay. I mean, honestly, a quicker review than I was expecting.
Yeah.
And a 44. What a great week we've had.
yeah, for real. A lot of variants. Mostly bad on the Caps.
Okay,
part.
but 44 is an interesting score because it was really bad. Like, it was a bad movie, but it's more so kind of close to this between 40 and 55 sludge where it's uniquely frustrating.
Yes.
You almost would have hoped it would have tanked even more.
Yep.
or give you an actually good movie.
Absolutely.
And
Or it may be odd to say this, but uniquely bland. Like bland in like confusing ways.
It's almost sad that we didn't watch Madam Web now because who got the throwaway slot last year as far as when it, like release date?
Sure,
you know, earlier in the year.
Absolutely.
But Madam Web, I wonder because it was such a joke, you would have had a better time watching Madam Web, even though this is probably the better movie.
Oh, believe me, I've had plenty of people say to me that it's so bad it's good, Madam Web, and
right.
I just.
But there's a conversation there.
Yes,
that's actually what is more watchable,
right?
Because this is more frustrating.
Sure.
You know?
I think that's a good example,
especially
of
the
just,
talent you've got going on.
Yeah,
just Marvel. Look, man, they've been at it for you know. They started in 2008 with Iron Man. We're many years away now from that, and I think the magic that was working for most people, it's so lost.
Yeah.
You even think about what they used to do in Marvel. So Kevin Feige, so they would get the movie done, and then they would show it and do screenings to friends and family of the Marvel staff and like Feige's family and stuff and the producers. And then they would go and do touch-ups of where they needed to in the film. I hear they even stopped doing that now, and it's just like Feige alone in a room cutting things and trying to make things work as best as possible.
I never read a comic book in my life.
But I'm kind of sick of just like movie after movie coming out now where it's just it was a mess to shoot. The after product was a mess.
Yep.
So then they needed to mess with it, making it even a bigger mess.
Yeah.
You had this with one of the Ant-Mans as well. They were taking a hatchet to and everything.
Absolutely. And actually, speaking of Ant-Man, I mean, this in my kind of own kind of markers where these all line up, if anything, the head-to-head of like the ranking of the MCU, this is right neck and neck with Quantumania because of just like how much it tries to set up and it's just kind of an overwhelming who asked for this. I don't think MCU fans asked for this. If anything, the one thing they were asking for was Sam Wilson not taking the shield and it being Winter Soldier to become Captain America. So they're clearly not, in that process of listening to fans for these projects. This just...
Who is the Winter Soldier? I thought that was Captain America.
No. I'm not sure if you want to leave that.
Was that okay? Was that Bucky?
Yeah, that's Bucky.
Okay. Oh.
So,
okay.
and obviously in the comics, Sam Wilson does take the mantle from Captain America. So, the fan problem isn't. I mean, it gets kind of lumped in together with internet rage and whatnot. The fan problem is not Captain America is black or anything like that. The problem is that the MCU was setting up a much more emotional relationship between Steve Rogers and Bucky Barnes, Winter Soldier and Captain America.
Yeah.
And it just felt deserved in that way. So, but
we'll see. And we got Thunderbolts coming up in 2 months, and 2 months after that, we've got another one coming out. It's like, oh boy.
Thunderbolts does not look good.
Set your feet, folks. Get ready. So, Bucky is the Winter Soldiers and Thunderbolts.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I knew that. He's the Winter Soldier. Okay, all right, Ben. Looking at all these scores, big week here we had.
Right. Exhausting week, really.
Anything you want to touch on? Anything for next week coming up? What do you got for us?
Well, next week I am going to finish the Lynch study. It's going to be Mulholland Drive. I'm going to do one more slot for Footwork February. As far as new stuff, I do want to get to The Gorge, which is on Apple TV. That's already out already, so if you want to watch that at home, watch it before the review. That should be good. And then the big new release is The Monkey, which is from Oz Perkins, who did Longlegs last year. Seems to be hitting the ground running and going right into The Monkey, which is, I believe, a Stephen King story. So.
I think, and Elijah Wood, I believe, is in that.
Yeah.
Just got married, Elijah Wood.
Nice.
44 years old. When he showed up for the first day, he had just turned 18 when he showed up in New Zealand to start shooting. He's 44 now.
Right.
Crazy. All right, Vin, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for watching these, Vin, for stopping by, all the note-taking this week. And folks at home will run it down one more time. We have the 1979 Captain America film. So Captain America with an 11% and Captain America 2, Death Too Soon with a 24%. Paddington with a 73. Paddington 2 with a 77. That's a good score. I'm still a little surprised on 77, but that's a great score. Well,
yeah,
it's a good movie. Jeez.
Absolutely.
Paddington 2 with a 77, Paddington in Peru with a 65 and a one shoe, one lace, and Captain America Brave New World with a 44%. Folks, as always, thank you so much for stopping by every week with us, and we'll see you next week right here on the Daily Ratings Podcast. hey, if you enjoyed the podcast, if you would, give us a good rating or get the word out, tell a friend about us. Just a reminder that Daily Ratings is completely producer supported. We want to stay away from advertising, and we don't want to have any paywalls or tier structures or subscriptions. It's all just value for value. So, are you finding value in what we're doing here at the Daily Ratings? Then become a producer and donate whatever amount of value that is. Just go to the donations tab on thedailyratings.com, and while you're there, be sure to check out the massive amount of films that Vince has rated. All right, thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you next time on the Daily Ratings Podcast.